Hey guys, Mike Toy, Bonsai Boise. So this is a lilac that I've had for about 3 years, and I'm going to be repotting this into this black shiny looking pot here. I don't know what kind of lilac this is, to be honest with you. I got it on clearance at the end of a season for I think like $3, and all it said was lilac. I'm going to do a little more research to see if I can figure out what kind it is, but to be completely honest with you, at the time I bought it, I put it in this pot, and I just left it alone. I don't know if I've ever even trimmed it, to be completely honest. So, I mean, I may have, but I don't think so. It doesn't look like it, judging from the tips of all the branches. So I wouldn't say it's been neglected, but I would say that I've given it no real attention other than to just water it and fertilize it. So I have no doubt that it's very root bound right now because it's been in here for 3 years. As you can see on this pot here, it used to have a little design of some flowers and stuff. It used to be white, and even that's all faded. So that's how long it's been in here. So I'm going to be repotting it, and I'm going to start it. We're going to be experimenting, put it that way. I have never bonsai'd a lilac before, with the exception of a dwarf Korean lilac, which that's not what this is. But those are different. Those have small leaves. I have a little bit of experience with those. These have a little bit bigger leaves, so I'm gonna go through some of my old videos and see if I can get a better look at what it is and figure out what species of lilac it is. But anyways, that's a long way of saying that this is not gonna be a tutorial on how you should deal with a lilac. This is more of an experiment. So for my benefit and amusement and yours. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into this. I'm going to give you a close-up look at some of the branches and sort of what the plan is. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put it into fast speed so you can see me taking it out of this, trimming the roots up a little bit. I'm going to be doing some big structural pruning on the branches. I am going to try to propagate some of these. So I've got a little thing ready, so when I do the clip, I'm just going to stick it right in there. We'll see if they propagate easy or not. I can tell you I have a larger lilac bush in a larger pot that I got about the same time, and I've experimented a little with that, and what I learned is that they really don't take well to being pruned, at least during even in the growing season. I've done it, and they just don't. Anytime I've done it, it just sort of stops growing at that point and doesn't grow anymore for the rest of the year. So it doesn't die back, it doesn't, get wilty. It just simply stops and refuses to grow for the rest of the year. So part of this experiment is to see if now is a better time to do it, this being January of 2021, early January. In theory, I mean, all the buds, as you can see here, they're swelling and they look like they're just getting ready to pop, which is, for a maple, that's the time to do it. That's the time to do the trimming. So who knows? Maybe the weird timing will just work out. But we're gonna find out either way on this little $3 lilac. So follow me. Let's take a close-up look at it and then get to work. All right, so here's a close-up of it here. Just gonna scroll down. So you can see the trunk's not uber thick, but it's got enough to be a good start. It's got a nice root base here. It's got this kind of big ugly root going across it, so probably end up getting rid of that. Another one here, which nope, actually that's just a piece of bark. But yeah, so as you can see, it's got potential at least. So I'll scroll up a little here. So what I'm thinking I'm gonna do is when I repot it, I'm gonna see if I can expose more of this trunk base here, because right now we're looking at like a couple inches. I'd like to get another inch or two if I could. Don't know if I can based on all these little roots here, who knows. So I'd like to expose a little more trunk, and then got to make some decisions up here. So on this branch, what we've got, it's kind of long and straight, which I don't like. So I've got two things I can do. One, I can trim it back to here and around here somewhere. That allows it to move up and then fork out at the top. And then I'll leave this down here as kind of like a little side branch. Or I can make a cut here. And this can be the way that the branch goes, which sort of leaning toward that. Just so that it's got some good movement. You know, my initial instinct always is to not lose all this awesome big growth, but you just can't do that. You end up regretting it later, at least I do, because later on, since I didn't sacrifice and make the cut when I needed to and when I should have, what I end up with is this tree that's really, you know, starting to come along, except for the fact that it's got this real long branch and I just don't like it. So I'm sort of learning to just make the sacrifice at the time and bite the bullet and do it. So I'm thinking that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna make the cut here. And I don't know if hopefully you can see that, but there's some buds underneath it too. So we'll call those insurance buds. In case something goes wrong, you can always sort of retreat back to there and start from there. Now this guy, kind of the same story, it's got a little more movement there, but then this big long straight piece. So there's a couple of buds down here. Get the focus. So there are a couple of buds down here, but I don't know if I want to take that one down as far. I do have a bud on this side over here, so that's actually good. That's encouraging. So I may, or my other option, was to make a cut on one of these three branches, probably this middle branch. I don't like how wide, you know, how spread out these ones are. I would have liked it slightly more in, but you know, it is what it is. And I think that over time, nature will end up narrowing that gap a little bit anyways, because, you know, trees and plants and bushes and shrubs and everything typically end up moving toward the sun over time. So that will probably help straighten those out a little. I also thought about getting rid of either this branch or this branch. And, you know, let's say I got rid of this one, then I would just have these two, or vice versa, these two. But I think I'm going to go against that just because this one goes pretty much straight up. And it's so thick. It's sort of disproportionately thick. So I would lose any kind of taper if I did that. So yeah, I think what I'm going to go ahead and do then, so I'm just going to make the cut. I'm going to get rid of this one. I'm going to get rid of this right there. And then these two branches here, whoop, this one and this one, I'll probably take back to 2 or 3, the second or third set of buds, somewhere in there. And yeah, this one I'm probably just going to leave alone. I'm just going to let it be. It's not, I mean, it is a little long and straight, but not too bad. So since it's got some good looking healthy buds on there, we'll call that an insurance branch too. Or sacrificial branch is actually the term you hear more often. I call it an insurance branch because it's like there as insurance in case something goes wrong. But yeah, that is a look at this guy here. So let's go ahead and dive in now. All right, so there it is. It put up quite a fight there in the beginning, getting it out of that pot. I've never had to do that before. Never had to employ a hammer in the process of making a bonsai or repotting a bonsai. So that was a first, but that pot was pretty old and, you know, old looking at least, so I didn't care. Anyways, so I smashed it and got it out of there, and it's probably hard to tell. I knocked on it a little bit just to sort of give an idea, but that root ball that was in that pot was just rock hard. So it took a little bit of finessing and persuasion to get it working with me, but got it down to a decent spot. I didn't, as you can see, I didn't bare root it, you know, meaning like getting all the old soil out. I basically just trimmed it back to a little root ball and got it to fit in there. And I tried to scrape some of the soil off to expose. I think I exposed about maybe a half an inch to an inch more trunk, which as goofy as it looks right now, and it does look goofy, you know, it's like an antenna basically coming up with two little rabbit ears. Aside from that, the potential so far is good long term, I think, because if I can get the root flare and the Nabari here to continue on the path that it is on, then I think it'll end up looking really good. Got rid of some of those big ugly roots that were, you know, big bulge here and a big belt around there. And so I got rid of all those. Got it cleaned up a little bit. I may add a little bit more soil just because, you know, when you first repot a tree, sometimes the soil sets in a little bit in that first week or two, and then it looks a little goofy. So I may add a little more soil if it comes to that, but I usually don't get too caught up in the refinement process at this stage, just because what's the point? It's got a long way to go before it gets anywhere. So this will be a fun experiment. I appreciate you watching. You know, leave me any tips and tricks that you know about these lilacs, if I can figure out what kind of lilac it is. I'll do the research, and if I can figure it out, I'll put it in the title or I'll put it in the description or something. But I did some looking earlier and I couldn't find anything on it. But otherwise, I think that covers it all. Yeah, I guess that about covers it. So thanks for watching, you know, and if you, like I said, if you got anything to add to it, to the discussion, please do. I'd love to hear it. Have a good rest of your night.